Hello and welcome to All Chalk, a podcast about the power of education to help young people speak up and build a fairer world. My name's Greg, I'm the founder of Smart School Councils, a charity helping every child to find their voice. And every so often I meet a teacher who has such a passion or drive for getting young people to speak up and make change that honestly I kind of want to just clone them, make thousands of them and put them in all the schools across the land. And today's guest, Conor McSorley, is someone who definitely fits that category. He's a teacher at a school called St Vincent's in Liverpool, a school for visually impaired students, and his level of belief and energy in helping students to debate and discuss is just amazing. We had to get him on the podcast. He talks about how he uses the Smart School Council programme, which we can tell you much more about if you're interested, but also a really fascinating background in how he grew up in the tail end of the Troubles in Northern Ireland and how that connects with what he's doing now. So if you're a school and you want to get involved, just get in touch with us at Smart School Councils and we'd love to create the type of impact that you hear Conor talk about. So without further ado, let's hear from the amazing Conor McSorley from St Vincent's School in Liverpool.
Thanks for having me, Greg. And I say it was great to have you come visit the school and bring some of other professionals with you as well, just to really see what we're doing here and try and paint the picture of what I'm trying to achieve as we go forward in St Vincent's School. So it was really great to have you, and it's a pleasure to be on the podcast this morning with you.
Yeah, amazing. And I met some of your amazing students as well. You've got a few characters there. Maybe we'll come on to those as we have a chat. So just to set the scene, Conor, can you tell us a bit about you and your school? And I guess what is it that fires you up about debate and pupil voice, and why is it important to you?
So as you said, I work in a school for visually impaired people. We're one of only, I think, 3 schools in the UK that cater specifically for visually impaired people. Myself, my background, I've always had a passion for working with SEN pupils. I done a degree in inclusive education and I always just fell down that path. But specifically with the debating aspect and how I've got in contact with you and Smart School Councils and the Big Debate Club, which are fantastic, is I feel that SEN pupils and specifically visually impaired people are quite marginalised in society. Specifically when it comes to after education, employment rates are very low. And one of the ways that I think we can tackle that is by giving pupils a voice, giving them confidence, just getting them to talk about current affairs and having controlling aspects of things that go on in everyday life. And I was searching for an outlet to do that. And the first thing that I did was set up a school council. I think if you're wanting to give pupils a voice, that's the first thing you have to do. I find if you give pupils responsibility, they will always grasp that responsibility. And student council was the first thing going forward with pupil voice. But also in our school, to give pupils, we have sort of a different curriculum, and we have what's called our enrichment curriculum program. And when I came to the school, the first thing I wanted to set up was a debate club, because I think it's important that pupils, again, are given their voice to debate controversial issues. They build a confidence in themselves that they can take on going forward in life. And that's how first I got in contact with Becky. Going back now, I think it was just through Twitter, because I'm big on social media. I find if you're doing good things in schools and networking, Twitter, or X as it's known as now, has got a bad name in the past. But for me as an educator, I found that I've made some of my best contacts in education through X, and that's how I met with Becky, and she got me involved in the Big Debate Club and Smart School Councils, and we just went on from there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anyone hasn't checked out your Twitter, it's there's a lot of amazing activities and kind of showcasing all the incredible stuff that the students get up to at your school. And you're a good follow, Conor. I like following you on Twitter. Yeah. It's good.
And you know what? I think it's just good to highlight what you're doing and just get it out there. And as I say, the internet can be used for some great things, and networking is one of them. And I think in schools, if you're doing good things, if your pupils are doing good things, you should celebrate them. And the best way to do it is through social media. And I think because I think it's still not exactly frowned upon, but teachers are apprehensive to do it. Like, I took a group of pupils to a mock UN council debate or climate action debate, which coincided with COP29 last week. And straight away, I was asking the other teachers from, I wouldn't say more important schools, but from bigger, more established schools than ours that are used to events like this. And I was asking our teachers, oh, what's your Twitter handle? How can I get you on Instagram? And they were sort of very, oh, you're not doing that, are you? And I was like, yeah, it's a great event. You should be highlighting this to the public what you're doing. And yeah, so I think educators should really more want to celebrate what their pupils are doing.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess like most people, maybe when they probably haven't stepped into a school like yours before. So could you share a little bit just to set the scene about what might look kind of similar to other schools and what might look a little bit different to other schools in your area?
Yeah, we're very progressive in what we do. As I say, we cater specifically for visually impaired pupils. So everything is catered around that. It's not your typical school, and a lot of it is focused on braille habilitation, which is like mobility. So our pupils have lessons on life skills, how to go out, how to get on trains, how to get on buses, how to get, like, for example, it was quite a daunting thing, but when I started in this school, for the first 2 days, I had to be blindfolded. And I was taken all around Liverpool, because you have to put yourself in the shoes of the people you're teaching. And it was a scary prospect, but it really opened my eyes as a teacher about, right, how am I mapping myself around the classroom? How am I projecting things? How am I going to get through to pupils? Because a lot of teachers are heavily reliant on visuals and PowerPoints, so I had to really get out of that frame of mind. And so that's just the sort of type of things our school does. And we deliver the same national curriculum as anyone else, but everything is just done a little different to cater to visually impaired people. And then we do a lot of our enrichment offers. So life skills, Grow Wild, the Young Green Britain Challenge. Just a few examples. I've just organised to take a group of pupils for a 6-week programme in horse riding. I take pupils for race car driving experiences. It's all about getting these pupils that wouldn't necessarily be able to do these things to show them, well, this is an inclusive school. You can do anything that anyone else can. And that's the sort of ethos that our school has.
An amazing message. Sounds great. And I'm curious about those first 2 days that you had going around Liverpool blindfolded.
Yeah, on trains, on buses, everywhere. I've actually continued on now because our school then further enhances. I'm doing a program in QTDI, so I'm going to be trained in mobility and stuff like that as well. So but yeah, that's just to give you a first grasp. Yeah, first day in, it's like, right, blindfold on, you're out. But as you know well, I sort of took that to the next level, and I recently ran a marathon blindfolded then, so I sort of got the bug.
Okay, you took that challenge and you ran with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so when you kind of kicked off, when you were thinking about debate and pupil voice in your school, where were you kind of starting? You said you reached out to us, which was like great.
Well, no, I didn't actually reach out to you first, and that's why anyone watching this, educator-wise, and this isn't a paid advertisement for you, so I'm just friends with Greg and Becky and that, but I'm always one for, if people are doing great things, I'll celebrate them, because I've done a couple of other channels. Now, I don't know if I want to mention them, but there is other there are providers that provide debating in schools, and they're very expensive programs. And so, for example, and I'm not going to call out any companies, but there's a certain company that beginning with debate, but I won't finish them off because I'm not going to slag anyone off. But they provide an 8-week program, and then they do competitions. But they charged me up nearly £2,000, and they sent a student. It wasn't even a teacher, just a student who wasn't familiar with how to even teach lessons or do anything. Sort of just was given a PowerPoint and gone, right, do this for 12 weeks, and then we'll charge them an extortionate amount of money. Mm. And I ended up having to do all the work for the student that came in. And then, yeah, it was just, they were unsupportive. And it was, as I say, it was very expensive. And then when I got in touch with Becky, I was like, this is a godsend. Becky's providing these packs every week, motions. You're getting full lessons with all the support. And I mean, it is pittance what you're paying. Like, it's like, I'm only starting to have to pay you. So it was free for a year. So, everything in education is trial and error. I tried these things. I was unlucky that the first one I tried out was quite expensive and it didn't work, but you learn and you move on, and then you end up finding the right people and the right things. So yeah, don't let any teachers out there that have tried programs and they've potentially failed, don't think, oh, well, my SLT is going to look at this the wrong way. What I think is your SLT is going to go, you tried something. If you keep coming with ideas, if you give up on the first idea, then your SLT is going to look at you and going, well, you're stuck in a rut. But if you can hold your hands up and go, I tried something that didn't work out, here's a plan for the next thing, then you're always going to get there in the end to what you want to achieve.
Yeah, and so that's amazing to hear. What kind of things are you doing at the moment then? So you're running regular debates, I guess?
We have a debate. We have two, with the debate and the Smart School Council. So I have two things running, coinciding with each other. I have my debate club every Wednesday, and I have student council meetings every Monday. So the debate club follows the motions of the big debate club, and then we log them online so we get to see the results of other schools and stuff. And the school council meeting on a Monday, if you go on to the Smart School Council's website, obviously you have to pay for that. There's just a backlog of resources and debates and conversation starters for pupils. So I look at my resources and I'll click on something. So should lunch times be longer, or should school times be changed? And they're the simple ones, and you can go in with different tiers of levels depending on the ability of your pupils. And there's just all these resources, reading material. So I can go to the student council in the meeting. Well, here's this idea, here's that idea, and then I just let them run with it. And then the student council meeting feedback to our SLT any ideas that come for it. The debate club is, as you know, I have a passion about getting SEM pupils included and debating with mainstream settings, because a lot of these debating has often been seen as quite stuffy and for a certain type of school, potentially, and I just want to make it inclusive for everyone. Yeah. Where you're from, what your ability is, I want you just being confident standing up in a room and talking and saying your views in a comfortable setting.
Yeah, there's a sort of there's a stigma sometimes to debate, isn't it? The sort of the vibe of that it's only really for a certain type of person that might already be very confident. And it struck me in visiting your school that you're really, really fighting against that. This is just about talking.
Like, if you look at it, like the voter turnout in elections has been so low because I looked obviously I'm from Ireland. The Irish voter turnout was the lowest in 100 years yesterday. And like the youth turnout in voting, and the same in our general election, it's because young people are not debating simple issues that they don't realise then are what goes on to manifestos in government. And I think if we can start in schools getting pupils engaged in these issues, then they'll go, right, well, I'll register to vote, I'll get engaged with my local councillor or my local MP. And
yeah.
I think you do have to it's building blocks. You have to start from the bottom, and that's what I'm quite passionate about. And I really do think it is where you see a lot of this criticising governments online, but the same people that are all criticising these governments, none of them are reading manifestos, none of them are voting in elections. They're just regurgitating this information that's given to them online without even checking the sources. So I tell my pupils, if you want to debate something, if you want to have an opinion, have the opinion you want, but make sure you've checked the facts. Okay, I'll never tell, like, we have Trump supporters in our debate club, we have Kamala Harris supporters, we have Keir Starmer, we have all sorts of supporters, and I encourage them to support whoever you want, but as long as you can back it up with actual facts and not just regurgitate this information that you've been told online without even looking into it.
So how did that play out during the American election then in your debate club? Tell me about that.
I always encourage good, healthy debates. And as I say, especially with the American one, it is affecting us, but there was a lot of stuff online that's just not true. And I as I say, I just give the pupils the motion and I just watch. And if you give pupils a chance, generally, they do have good opinions. It's just about listening to them. It's not about you saying, well, you're wrong or this is wrong. It's just letting the conversation flow. And as I say, it's their voice, it's their time. I'm just there facilitating. I'm not at any point telling them. So obviously the way I run my debates is, if you have the floor, you have the floor. If someone wants to interrupt, they have to politely put their hand up and say a point of information. But so I let the pupils, if they have the floor, it's their opportunity to speak, and it works well. It works well. If you give, I always say, if you give kids responsibility and opportunity, they always grasp it.
And so, what are those? So, imagine I'm walking into one of your debates. And I guess I have done. I'm trying to help other people imagine it. What kind of, as well as the respect for listening to each other, one person speaking at a time, I guess, what other sort of things might I see which helps you have a great debate?
Well, the one thing that is fantastic is the debate packs and the debate videos that come every week. Normally done by Becky, sometimes done by other. I know you probably write some of the debate packs as well, other people on your staff do. So you will have a motion. I'm just seeing what was. I think last week's motion was, can we always trust what happened in history? Something like that. Yeah. This week's one is about conspiracy theories. Okay. Was it, something, yeah. Well, you have the motion, but then you have. So what I will do is, my debate club will sit around. I will tell them, this is what we're debating this week. Then I'll play it. There's always a brilliant YouTube video that Becky links up, and it's quite interactive as well. There'll be points in the video where you can pause and the pupils can have a discussion. She might ask a question. Then I will tell them what are the arguments for this motion, what are the arguments against. So that normally takes about 20 minutes. The video is probably about 6 minutes long. You have a bit of discussion, there's pauses. Then I will give the pupils, I'll put a clock on, I will go, right, you have 10 minutes to come up with your own argument. Okay. I don't like to leave them too long. I give them 5-10 minutes, and if there's a timer, they can hear the timer going. They'll know, right, well, I have to get whether they want to write it down or they want to have it in their head. And then we all sit around the big round table, and you've seen it before, and then everyone in turn has the floor. They have their opportunity to talk. They can stand up. They can sit. But once I say, right, the floor is yours, John, or I'm just using names there, that person can stand up, talk for. We normally try, because I'm trying to get them to think within debate competitions, and you normally have about 3 minutes to speak. So I'll give them, after about 2.5 minutes, because I always say as well, you can ramble on. I'm probably rambling on now, but
no, not at all.
You can ramble on a bit too much in debate as well. So I try and say clear, concise arguments. Point, evidence, explain. Make a point, give some evidence, explain why you think that evidence backs up your point. So they have about 3 minutes. If anyone wants to then back and forth, they can after the person spoke, and then we move on to the next one. Then as a group, it's quite popular. When it began, I only had like 3-4 kids, and now I'm up to about 10 kids in my debate club.
Amazing.
After everyone's had their chance to speak, then we decide as a group which motion whether we're in favour of the motion or not. Then we go back onto the computer and I log our findings on with so what us as a school, what we've decided, why we've decided it, and then we get the results from all around the country. So how many's in favour? And then during the week, normally you'll check Twitter and you can see that, well, the Smart Schools Councils will have tweeted, oh, saying Vincent thought this or a different school thought that. So it's quite interactive and the kids get to check on it and stuff like that as well. So that's how I'm not sure how every debate club, but that's how I think a model that works well. Give everyone the room, or give everyone the floor, give them an opportunity to voice. Have a little bit of opportunity for back and forth afterwards, and then together we'll come to consensus.
Yeah, it sounds great, because the ingredients that I love there are you're getting everybody involved, it's kind of snappy, so it's not going on for too long, and you're trying to come to a resolution. Does that always happen? Do most people kind of...
Well, we do take a vote in the end. There will be some debates where we just have a clear yes or 50-50 deciding yes or no, but we normally try and, as a school, we try and then come to an opinion, so we'll take a vote. If we can't agree on it, we'll take a vote which side. Okay. I like to elect the debate club captain, which we change every term as well. So sometimes I'm not the one sort of, sometimes the teachers, they'll try and sort of nudge pupils in a certain direction. I try not to do that. So I elect the debate club captain, who then I would say the debate club captain has to say. So I'm really just facilitating the conversation and make sure the speed and timings are there. But every decision is by the pupils.
And what's the most...
pupil voice, you really have to do that, especially in student councils as well. You can't go in thinking, well, I want the kids to debate about this and then I can evidence that so it looks good. It really has to be about what their issues are, what they're feeling. That's why with the student council meeting, I just go into the room, I give them some resources and then I leave, because it has to really be pupil voice led. The debate club, I stay because I want us to get into competitions, and sometimes I'm trying to get them to keep the times and work on their arguments. But with the student council especially, I think teachers should really, really take a back step on that, or else it's not truly a pupil voice.
Yeah, pupils will quickly lose energy for things if it's not them who've kind of maybe come up with the idea. You know, how passionate can you be about an idea that you've been given to? So yeah, amazing. And I guess what's been the most? Oh, I guess two questions. What's been the most controversial debate, or the most fiery debate that you've had in recent kind of times?
That's definitely been the American elections.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think a lot of young people on social media now, with YouTubers now, I think Trump's side of things were kids that follow a lot of YouTubers, and that's how I think he won the election. He was on podcasts, he was on Twitter, he had Elon Musk, and then your mainstream news readers and news watchers were more Democrats. And I think I tried to break it down to them, like some of the Trump supporters, I've read out all the Democrat policies, and for the Democrat supporters, I read out Trump policies, and sometimes you realize they agree on things, but I think that really was the most divisive debate that we've had. Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
A lot of it was on social media now as well, and the kids are all like, you're not going to get any of our kids really going home and watching Channel 4 News at 7 with Jon Snow or anything like that. Our BBC News. They're all getting their information from online, but depending on what YouTuber you followed or who you follow, what news outlets you follow online, you really were either one or the other. There was no in between.
Yeah. Fascinating. I think it's. I would have loved to have seen that debate. Maybe we'll have to come back for the next election. Will be interesting. And I guess what is it about? It's just a question about you, Conor, I guess. So what is it about you that's that really, like before you became a teacher, what is it about you that gave you this sort of passion for debate and social justice? Because it's clearly so fundamental to you. You know, it seems so important to you.
I love engaging in politics. I come from South Armagh in Northern Ireland, so growing up, it was a very divisive area. I grew up just at the tail end of the Troubles during the Good Friday Agreement and that. But what I feel is that depending on an area you come from, and the same thing since I've moved to Liverpool. So where I come from in Northern Ireland, people blindly vote for Sinn Féin because I came from a Catholic area. That's what you do. But I noticed as I was growing up, nobody actually, if I said to any of my friends, well, tell me what Sinn Féin's political policies are apart from wanting a united Ireland, or how would that work? Wouldn't be able to answer the question. It's just, vote Sinn Féin, we're Catholic, they're Protestant sort of thing. And I found when I was in certain areas of England is the same. Liverpool is staunchly Labour. And they would vote blindly without even looking. And that's why, if you look, Joe Anderson, who was the leader of the Liverpool Council for a while, was as corrupt as they come. But he kept getting elected every year because people are, Tory scum, we got to vote Labour. And it's like, well, tell me some of Labour's policies. What are they wanting to do? And I just find it really frustrates me. Like, I'm like, have a belief, have a political ideology, but don't just blindly go in there just, because my dad said so, or because I'm Scouse, I have to vote red, or I have to, if I'm from down south, don't be just loyal to something without knowing the facts. That's what I say. And that's why I always try and just get to people. I love then having this debate about people. Well, what do you believe in, or what would you want to achieve? Not what you've been told to achieve, or what your dad says, or your mum says, or where you come from. You're told to do that. I was like, well, what would you like in your area? What would you like in schools? What do you feel? Where should government funding go? Things like that. It stemmed from that just like blindly. It just almost irritated me that like, well, yeah, you're voting for these, or you're following these people, or you're saying you hate another person without actually looking into what they believe. I'm all about don't judge a book by its cover. Get to know the person, you know. Get there's a lot of good out there without just blindly hating people, and that's our forming an opinion of someone without actually really getting to talk to them. You know, you can disagree with people on a wide array of things, but you can still sit down and have a pint with them or have a good conversation with, you know, in life, I'll say to my kids, they'll not be having a pint, but you know, I sit down with people from different walks of life, and I might agree with them, but I'd have a drink with them, I'd have a chat with them, and I want pupils to know the same thing. You can disagree with people, but have an opinion yourself. Don't just be a sheep, you know. Form your own opinions, come up with your own ideas, have your own beliefs. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, fascinating.
That's where it sort of stems from.
Yeah, I can really tell it comes from like deep within, isn't it? It's not a new thing for you, I guess, Conor. Is
No.
I really get that impression.
As I say, there's a lot of blind hate in this country, and there always has been growing up. I've seen it coming from the troubled area. I see it now when people are blind. They always blame the immigrants or blame this side people or blame that people, and it's like you're not focusing your energies on finding out facts or learning or, you know, and you can disagree with people without having to hate them or without having to chastise them or put them down. You know, you can not agree with someone and still work with them or go to school with them or play football with them, whatever it is. And that's what I'm very passionate about, because as well, it comes from that thing, Irish people, we're all over the world. We're born, we're travellers, we're immigrants. My dad grew up in London and only moved back to Ireland later in life. You know, when I turned 18, I moved away. If you look at my local village, my friends are from here to New York to London, wherever, and I think that's a good thing, moving around the world, getting to know new people, and I just think there's a lot of hate going around at the moment, and I like to sort of pull that back and try and say there's good in everyone.
Yeah, it's a great message, and I think your work at St Vincent's is a good reminder of that, because it does.
Yeah, I think. Sorry for cutting you off, but it does. Then that's where it sort of went into also working with people with extra needs, SEN people, whether that's visually impaired or what other needs you have, because they're marginalised as well. There's opinions formed of them all. Well, they can't do that. They can't do that. I'm all about you can do whatever you want, and don't let anyone tell you any different.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good reminder. I was going to say, because it does feel like some of those walls that exist between different types of people, or between people even from similar areas, are kind of going up again.
There is a sense of that at the moment, and I don't like the way things are going. Of that sort of that these walls and divisions are going up again. So hopefully things like the Smart School Council and Big Debate Club and getting kids to talk about issues can sort of bring them walls down again. But we're in a challenging, uncertain times at the moment. But I don't know, people like me and you can hopefully calm things down.
Well, hopefully we can do some good. I've got one more question, Conor, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
It's to ask you what advice you might have to somebody who is just starting out with this stuff, is maybe less experienced than you, is maybe in a school where it doesn't quite have the kind of progressive values that St Vincent has. How might they get going with some of this stuff? How might they get started?
First thing is, don't be afraid. Be confident in yourself. In education, you're always going to run into barriers. It's just whether that's from management, whether it's from other staff members not thinking that your things can work, or just not having the confidence in yourself. Don't be afraid to hear no and then keep pursuing it. Okay, like if you're really passionate about something, like I've had my line manager tell me no to something, so I've went to the deputy head. I've had the deputy head tell me no to something, so if you believe in an idea and you think it's good, keep going, but always look for feedback. Don't just, if someone puts an idea down, don't just be like, oh, well, they're wrong. Always ask the question, well, what do you think I should do? There's a management structure in school. Hopefully, if you've good management, good support, they'll give you the advice, because I've had so many ideas and things that I wanted to do, but I can be guilty of just being an idea and going, I'll run with that, without actually thinking. You have to put the plan in as well. That's one thing. get advice. Go. Try things small first, okay? As you say, my debate club, you came in here and you seen it was only 3-4 pupils that day you were here. I've got 10 pupils now. I'm taking them out, but that started off very small, just week by week, getting kids used to the idea of arguing with each other about these type of issues. It gets bigger and bigger, but go small, plan well, and don't be afraid. If you believe in an idea, as you say, keep trying. If it doesn't work, constructive criticism is your best friend. It's not your worst enemy. Okay? Don't be afraid to take feedback, because nobody's perfect. I always say that. Some people have an idea, and when it gets shot down, we'll just go, oh, well, that's that then. So if you truly wanted to achieve something, it'll take 4 or 5 attempts to do. You probably know that yourself, setting up smart school councils, how many times over the last year or two that format has changed, or how you've done something and someone said, that doesn't really work, and it didn't stop you. You didn't go, oh, well, you're wrong. You probably went back and you changed it a little. Advice is always good. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Don't be afraid to take advice on board. And just keep trying. And as I say, if you believe in something and you put the passion into it, that passion normally reflects, and hopefully it will work out and you'll get results.
Wow, amazing, Conor. It feels like I feel very motivated now. I can see why your students love you being their teacher so much, because it really feels like a positive, energetic sense that I get from you, having met you and also chatted with you today, Conor. So thank you so much.
Wow, such a great chat. Thank you so much to Conor for coming along and sharing his views, energy and drive and enthusiasm, all of those on All Chalk. It's great to hear. If you're interested in getting involved with Smart School Councils and growing the pupil voice or school council in your school, then please do get in touch. You can check us out at smartschoolcouncils.org. That's smart school, singular school, plural councils.org, and we'll get you set up. Thanks so much for checking the podcast out. Until next time.